So, good morning, everybody. This is Teemu once again. As you can tell, we are going to do something totally different from the previous shows. Uh, the language that we are using is the world's most spoken language, uh, English with wrong words. Let's say it that way. Today's guest is a man from all the way from the United States, and I met this guy through the through my hobby, through my motorcycling hobby, and we met in Finland a few years ago, and after that we've been keep in touch, and he's a kind of a, how would I say, interesting person, if you may, and let me introduce you to Mr. Monty Myrtle. Hello, Monty, and welcome to the show.
Hey, it's good to be here. Good to talk to you again. It's been a long time, so this should be interesting, I hope, for everyone.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting to me, anyway, if anybody else. Um, Monty, you're from Kansas, right?
Yep, I'm originally born and raised in Kansas.
Okay, and if I'm understanding correctly, you left Kansas quite early on your adult life. Or when was it?
Yeah, I think I was 21,
21.
21 years old when I left. Yep.
So where did you go, and what's the story in the beginning of your moving out from States?
Well, that was, I guess it would have been like 2008, right before or the recession really started happening hard here in the States, and I could just see work. I'm an electrician. Work was slowing down, so I started just looking around, see what's going on, and I found a job down in Antarctica at the South Pole. So, yeah. So I applied for that and ended up spending a little over a year down there and saw temperatures. I think the highest temperature we saw was right around -5 or 6 Celsius and -85 or something like that Celsius.
85.
And yeah.
Okay.
So that's yeah.
That's
That was
gold.
what I
That's
did for a
gold.
year. Yeah,
Even for Finn, that's gold.
yeah.
So,
So
so you worked there for a year or something
yeah,
like
full year. I left there in, I think it was 2008, 2009.
that. Okay.
And from there, I kind of had a little bit of downtime. I just did a little bit of traveling around the States. And then in 2010, I ended up in Moscow, Russia. And I worked there for 5 years and took my motorcycle over there and just did as much sightseeing as I could around Europe and Russia in general. From there, I had a brief 3 months trip around Europe, and then I landed in Kiev, Ukraine.
Doesn't sound very American places, where you've been. So
For the most part, no. But yeah, I was in Kiev for almost 3 years. And after I was kind of finishing up in Kiev, I got a job in Greenland, working on top of the glacier there. So I went up there, did that for about 2.5, 3 months. That was this summer. And then after that, I kind of slowly made my way back to Kansas, where I'm talking to you from now at my house in Kansas.
so let's take a step back for a while and start from the beginning.
Yeah.
What actually made you leave United States? Because well, you said there was a um, recession coming on, and job security was going down or something like that. But was that the only reason, or did you wanted to see the
Well,
world and stuff like that?
no, I just had no plans really. I mean, the just work was slowing down, and there was a job available in Antarctica, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll go do that for a year. By the time I'm done with that, work will be better in Kansas again, and I'll just come back here and keep working like normal. And so yeah, I went down there for a year and came back, and I don't know if work was better or not, honestly. I don't like, I think it's about the same. And when I came back, I just kind of traveled around a little bit, and then I got that job offer in Moscow, and I was just like, well, why not? What the
Why not?
heck?
Yeah.
It'll be fun. And yeah, since I took that job, like I've been dreading having to come back. I didn't want to come back to the States. And well, I don't, it's not that the States, it just, why keep coming back here when I can travel and work and see the world and get paid for it?
Well, your definition of fun is quite odd for a Finn, anyway. Working in Moscow or something like that. But tell us about the work at the Antarctica. What was it like?
When I was there,
How the people keep warm and stuff like that?
yeah.
Because these are the things that um, it's pretty safe to say most of us don't know a thing about.
Yeah, I mean, it was 10 years ago when I was there, so we were doing some construction because they were just building a new station or finishing it up.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I worked actually underneath the ice most of the time. We had a couple of buildings that were below the snow, and in those buildings, it was like minus 45 year round. It doesn't matter what the outside temperature is, it's minus 45 in those buildings. They're not heated or anything.
And that's Celsius, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, minus 40 is the same in Celsius and Fahrenheit. So
Aha.
45, pretty close.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah. And then, so yeah, we worked out there. I mean, everything's given to you. We have insulated overalls that we wear, which is just, you can buy those the same as you can buy in the States. They're nothing special. They're just regular old insulated overalls. Then you typically get them maybe 2 sizes too big, so that way you can put layers of clothes underneath them if you need to get, for colder weather. And we had just a regular down feather jacket that they gave us, or coat. And it was the same deal. You always got it a couple sizes bigger, so you could wear a fleece jacket underneath it, and maybe some, I don't know, long shirt if you want to, long sleeve shirt. Your boots were quite interesting. Our boots, I think each one of my boots, I wear size 48, and each one of my boots weighed like 2.5 kilos. So yeah, you were really in shape after a year of working down there, because you're wearing like 20 kilos of clothes every single day.
Yeah.
So
The consumption of energy is quite high on those
yeah,
regular, daily chores.
yeah. Typically, I would eat like about 10 or 12,000 calories a day, and I never gained 1 kilo, nothing. I never gained weight. It was hard when you left to stop eating so much. I gained a lot of weight when I left because now I don't need so many calories. It's warm, but you're just so used for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner of having 3 or 4 plates of food.
Yeah.
And so you leave, and now you have fresh food because everything we had down there was frozen.
Okay.
And so you get fresh food, so you're like super excited for fresh food, and then you don't realize like, oh, I don't need 4 plates of food for every meal anymore. So, yeah.
What
A lot
about
of weight when we left.
what about the crew or the people that you worked with them? Uh, were they all from states or around the world or?
There it was. Most of us were from the States, yeah, because it's an American base. But
Okay.
a lot of the scientists were. We had a guy from Canada, the Netherlands. We had France. England was there. So yeah, we had a few international people, but the vast majority of us are Americans, yeah, because if you're not a scientist, then the way you get paid is through American, so you basically have to be legal to work in the States.
Okay.
So that way you can get your paycheck and everything's legitimate. The scientists, all their pay was different because they're hired by universities from around the world, so it's a completely different situation for them. But for the support staff, we're all paid. It was no different. My pay was no different than if I was working in Kansas. So same situation, how you get paid.
Okay, okay. What about the downtime? Uh, I don't think that you were working all day, all night. So
Yeah.
what did you do when your shift was over?
Yeah, we typically work 9 hours a day, Monday to Saturday.
Okay.
And when your shift was over, especially at that time, we had internet like 2 hours a day, and it was usually while you were at work, and so you had nothing to do. And the internet we had was terribly slow. I mean, horribly slow. So there's a huge movie collection down there on the weekends, like on Saturday night, someone typically would pick something and there would be movie nights or whatever and just watch movies. There was card games and things like that that happened usually on a nightly basis. Like every Wednesday night, everyone played some board game or something. But in general, it tended to be two types of people that were there. One was the exercisers, because we had a little gymnasium, so they could go there and lift weights and all that fun stuff. And then the other group was the people who typically just drank. Uh, there was a lot of excessive drinking going on. Yeah, I was not an exerciser, so
Well, you don't need to be on those kind of energy consumption levels. You don't need to work out anymore after that.
yeah, no, I
Uh,
was good, but
actually, I was guiding this question a bit because I know that there was some drinking and I wanted to hear. And so tell us some story. Come on, something that happened while on this party night or whatever. Come on,
oh, it
something,
wasn't
something,
just
something.
one night; it was every night.
Oh, it's
It wasn't just
okay,
a night.
okay, okay, okay.
No,
Come on,
one of
something,
the
something.
funnier things that happened is if you want to smoke, you have to smoke. At that time, they had like it was like a shipping container that
Okay.
was insulated and had a heater in it that was away from the station because they don't want anything to catch on fire, of
Yeah.
course. So there was only a couple people that smoked, and they would all hang out over there in the evenings and have their drinks there and smoke. So one night I went out there and to hang out with those guys, and we drank and drank and drank, and I remember coming into the station and going up the stairs and opening the doors to get in, and then I woke up in the morning in my room and I'm completely naked in my room,
Okay.
and I'm looking around and I can't find my clothes anywhere. And I'm like, what the heck did I do last night? I don't know what's going on. So I open the door, and apparently the only thing I can figure is I didn't like it because all my clothes, I mean, as soon as I opened the door, it smelled like cigarettes, like
Okay.
horribly. And all my clothes are laying in the hallway. So I guess because our rooms were only like 2 meters by a meter and a half.
Okay.
So I guess I must have got to my room and didn't like the smell of cigarettes, so I just opened the door, took all my clothes off, opened the door, and threw them out in the hallway. So everyone else living in my part of the building was real happy to see my underwear and shirt and socks and everything laying strewn all over the hallway.
That sounds pretty much a typical Finnish university kind of living. I would say that's a pretty decent. Uh, I'm guessing it's like that. I've never been in a university, so how could I know? So, but what I've heard is a lot of drinking going on there too. Okay. Have you missed it? Have you been missing?
Antarctica?
Yeah.
No,
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 no. Because that's
no.
it's kind of it's a once in a lifetime for some because there's no easy way for a Finn actually to get there or anything.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know if there is a Finnish Antarctic station or not. If there's an
no.
Antarctic station run by Finland down there, well, you guys all work for the EU now. You might be able to go to
Yeah,
any
well,
of them.
that's a
I
that's a
don't
bit
know.
different kind of thing because I would think that you have to be part of some sort of a university level of
Um,
scientific
yeah.
stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I
the,
don't know. Every country runs it differently. Like for ours, we have the support staff, which would be like me, the electrician. We had a plumber. We had heavy equipment operators, mechanics, things like that. And none of us were part of any university. Only the scientists
yeah,
were. Um, so yeah, I don't know how it would work for you guys in the EU as far as like, could you go work at the? Because I know Germany has a bunch, England has a bunch. Um, so yeah, I don't know how that would work. France
yeah.
has some.
Well, then again, it's cold enough here in
Yeah, yeah.
Finland, so
Finland might feel they don't need one.
yeah, yeah. Just set up the camp over the countryside, and there you go. It's a pretty much the same thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so you haven't missed it, and then you went to work in Moscow. That sounds for a Finn, you know. We talked about this earlier. That it sounds pretty drastic,
Drastic.
even to go work in a country in that country's capital that you guys have been known to have some sort of how would I put this um,
Yeah, we don't
differences.
necessarily get along so
Yeah,
well.
yeah. There's been some misunderstandings and stuff like that along the way.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so how on earth did you end up in Moscow? Well, you said wanted to see the world and travel and get paid and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
it's still I don't think that most of you Americans get offered that kind of a position and or place or stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I think most Americans don't go to Russia for a few reasons. It's one of the few countries where we need a visa, and it's not really difficult, but a pretty expensive visa for Americans to get. It's like $250, $300. So most people just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why most Americans don't end up there, I think. But there is still like the whole Soviet Union, Cold War mentality. People don't really understand what's going on over there now, and they don't really care, to be quite honest. So,
Okay. So how long were you working there?
5 years. I was there for 5 years
Oh,
in
yeah.
Moscow. Yep.
And what I understand, you speak Russia some level.
I can speak some Russian. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I think you pretty much have to learn it if you want to live there.
Yeah, yeah. So when you were working there and living there, did you have any kind of ideas or assumption even of Russia before going there, and did they change during that visit?
I didn't really have too many assumptions because I'm not really old enough to remember the Cold War. That all ended when I was a small child, 5, 6 years old.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't really have any assumptions when I went there. I had no idea what to expect at all. I didn't know anything at all, what to expect people to be like or what to see, or I mean, so for me, like I was pleasantly surprised. Most people are really awesome, good people, and they do a very good job in general of separating a person from their country and or government. So the vast majority of people could talk to you and they may not necessarily like America or American politics, but they could talk to you as a person and not have to loop you into all of the political situation. Like just because your government believes something doesn't necessarily mean you do,
Mm,
type of
mm,
thing.
mm, mm.
So people were pretty good in that like way to me over there. I didn't have any problems being an American.
Yeah, so they didn't hold you responsible of your country's politics, obviously.
Yeah, no, I think like most of those people grew up in the Soviet Union where they didn't necessarily agree with everything that was happening, but at the same time there was nothing they could do about it. And even today there's a lot of what's going on there that people don't necessarily agree with, but they kind of live in this ideal of like, well, there's nothing I can do about it, so let me just keep going on with my life and do the best I can. And they were really good about separating that stuff. I was really happy with that.
Okay. Um, what do you think that they they saw you how did they saw you? And well, you said that the politics went out the window and stuff like that, and they treated you fairly good. But was the you met new person or persons, and the starting of the conversation, how hard was that? You tried
Um,
to explain that you're from States and stuff like that.
no, it went pretty smoothly. I mean, people over there like to talk a lot, and so they would come up and ask you a question, and you would tell them, I don't know, and they would ask where you're from, and I would tell them, oh, I'm American, and they, oh, well, that's cool. Well, what are you doing here? Oh, well, I'm working in Moscow. Oh, okay, well, that figures. Everyone works in Moscow. I mean, people were really good about it, especially in the countryside. In Moscow, I mean, I would say the majority of people in Moscow speak English, at least to some extent. In the countryside, it's a little bit different, but in Moscow, St. Petersburg, your English is pretty commonly known. So it was much easier there because everyone like wanted to practice. Oh, you're a native speaker. Let me speak English. I just want to practice.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that was an easy way to meet people. Just the fact that I was a native English speaker, they wanted to just talk in general, to hear me speak and to try to practice their English.
Okay. So I have to ask at this point. You've been in Finland also. Uh, how does Finnish people compare to Russian people?
Um, I don't know. I haven't had as
And
much
be on,
interaction with Finnish
actually, hey,
people.
be honest right now, because nobody wants to hear your bullshit right about now.
No, I haven't had as much interaction with Finnish people. In general, it seemed like a lot more people in general, the general population speaks English in Finland. There's like a huge kind of weird American culture there. I remember seeing tons of American muscle cars and things like that. I'm like, what are these doing over here? What is going on? Um, like I almost like got crashed in when I was in Finland. This lady, I was driving down one road in the countryside, and this lady was like coming out of her house or something, I'm not sure, and it was raining, and she didn't see me, and she almost hit me on my motorcycle, and she pulled over and she got out of her car and was crying, and I assume apologizing to me in Finnish. I'm not sure. And I told her like, look, I'm not from around here. I don't know what you're saying. Like, everything's fine. Let's just keep going. And she was really apologetic about almost killing me.
Well, that's the least that she could do, apologizing for that.
But no, my experiences in Finland, I've not had any bad experiences. I've met nice people there. I don't know about the food. I never had any Finnish food, I don't think, while I was there. Everyone always wanted to give me hamburgers.
Well, I don't know about that. Actually, I was thinking this a couple of days back, and remembering, and basically thinking that when you were here, that was about 2015 or something like that. Was it 15?
Yeah.
And there was this local delicacy that I should have offered you, the blood sausage, but
Oh, no, I haven't had that.
yeah, but somehow it slipped out of my mind, and I got you the American diner kind of.
Yeah, and instead you give me that horrible black tar alcohol that you guys drink up there.
Horrible wasn't the word that you used on that night, but anyway, let's go on that one today. Um, you told me a story about crossing the border when you came
Oh
here.
yeah, when I came to Finland
That
the
would
first
be
time.
a nice to hear again, because I'm the only one that knows it. But it was so good that you have to tell it again, because most of us, well, not most of us, but many of us have crossed the border from, to Russia,
Yeah,
or to
yeah,
or,
yeah.
or Estonia, or even Sweden, and we know the border patrols and custom service guys are like. So please tell us the story that when you came from Russia to Finland, and how
Yeah.
you got here.
Well,
eventually.
first I should start with how, like, originally I met you from this motorcycle forum,
Yeah.
and I just knew your name from the motorcycle forum, which is Zalama. And so I was like, I get to the border, I get out of Russia, no problem. I'm trying to come into Finland, and the guy's like, so what are you doing in Finland? Oh, I'm gonna visit a friend. Oh, where at? And I'm like, oh crap, I don't even remember the name of where I'm meeting him. Like, so on the other side, somewhere by the sea, I guess. I don't remember exactly.
And
The
you were,
guy's like,
and stop here. You were coming to Tampere city, which is about the central part of Finland. But anyway, yeah, continue.
yeah, yeah. So, anyways, the guy's like, it's kind of strange. So what's your friend's name? And I said, like, huh, I don't know. The guy's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I only know him from this forum, and we met once in Germany the year before, and he's having a big motorcycle party up here, and I guess his name is Zalama. And the guy just like shakes his head just disappointedly at me, and he's like, yeah, I don't know if this is a very good friend, so you should be really careful. I'm like, okay, thanks, I guess. Like, yeah, have a good time.
Yeah, but here we are, three years later, making a bit of a radio show or whatever, and laughing about it. It was hilarious when you told us that thing at the meeting, and I've been laughing occasionally to it, and going through the photos and stuff like that. Because I have to say that I've met some adventurous or even a daredevil kind of people that go straight on to next adventure and stuff like that. But you kind of you have a kind of a mellow kind of attitude to all. And while traveling with motorcycle, that's a kind of a key element to have, because things happen a lot
Yeah.
while on motorcycle. And you, my friend, you're choosing the hard road, because basically your bike is built for paved roads, but that doesn't stop you from going to the unbeaten path, if you may. I've always looked those photos that you have on your site and wherever, that once again you're beating up the bike, and I'm crying inside, and no, don't go there, and no, what. But then again, your travels and adventures have led you to some pretty interesting sites and places, and you met some very interesting people like myself in this case. So motorcycling, that's your thing, right? And you've done it a lot in Europe and in Russia. If you compare Russia, Europe, Scandinavia, places like that, even Ukraine, um, where is the easiest to ride and where's the hardest? And talk us through it.
It just depends on what you want, I think. I mean, Norway, Sweden, Finland, you guys actually have a really good combination of awesome paved roads and then really good like dirt or gravel roads that people can ride. In general, that part of Europe is awesome. I love it, but it's just dreadfully expensive. Like especially Norway and Sweden. Like holy Jesus.
haven't noticed.
I mean, yeah. I remember I took the ferry from Estonia, Tallinn to Stockholm the first time, and I didn't understand why every car that was getting on the ferry was, I mean, there was just enough space in the car for the driver to sit, and the rest was all alcohol. And then I get to Sweden, and I went to a restaurant one night, and I was like, and the lady spoke perfect English, so there was no confusion. She's like, what do you like to drink? It's like, oh, just whatever your cheap beer is, I don't care. And I think the beer was more than my food. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm not drinking any more beer for the rest of the month while I'm up here, that's for sure. Yeah, it was. I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful country up there, but it's just
Hmm.
expensive. Um, and then the weather is iffy. There's a lot of rain up in Norway too and stuff. I don't know about Finland. I didn't get rained on there, but well, I did once when that lady tried to kill me. That was it.
Sounds
Uh,
like sounds like you are a bit of how would I say it? It has stuck with you that
yeah,
bad. So,
yeah,
do you
yeah.
do you dream about it?
Usually no. Usually no. It's more like nightmares.
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh,
what
the
about
rest of Europe,
yeah? What about
Western
the
Europe,
rest of Europe?
like Germany, France, the countryside of France is beautiful. Oh man, I love the countryside of France. Germany, I'm not that big of a fan of. I don't have a problem with it. It doesn't do anything for me.
Mm,
I don't know. That's where most Americans go when we go over to Europe is Germany or France, and France is awesome. Germany, I mean, it's cool and all, but I I have no urge to go back there. Uh,
actually, your dad came to Germany a few years back,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
He met me in Frankfurt. Yep.
and you drove with him for a while. What kind of mishaps or accidents or getting lost kind of things that you have conquered?
We got separated a couple times, and
Yeah.
of course, we both had SIM cards from Germany. I bought SIM card, and yeah, we got separated once and going into Budapest, and we lost track of each other. And I went to call him, and of course, my SIM card wouldn't work because it only worked in Germany and the countries that directly touch Germany. And because Hungary doesn't touch Germany, it doesn't work there.
Okay.
So that was a joke. And then we got separated again on the ferry going to from Germany up to Denmark. We
Okay.
took a ferry. And for some reason, we both went through and paid at the same time, and we thought we were getting on the same ferry, but they loaded me on one ferry and loaded him on, like, he had to wait like 3 ferries before he got on. And by that time, I couldn't find him anywhere, so I thought, well, maybe he took off, so I took off, and yeah, we finally found each other again. But yeah, that was the two problems we had was just getting separated from each other, and then for some reason your phone didn't work. I don't know why it didn't work in Denmark, but it didn't. One of our phones didn't work. The SIM card didn't. So
Um, be honest now. Do you have daddy issues? Because
no, not that I know of.
yeah, well, he took off and I took off and I haven't seen him. Okay, that's the sound. Yeah, no, not that
Yeah.
way.
Well, the
Yeah,
one where we got lost, what happened both times is once our he had a GPS and I had a GPS, and it took us different ways.
yeah.
And so once you lost track of the other person, you're like,
Hmm.
well, this is where we're gonna meet.
Yeah.
And so you keep going, and then like, oh well, maybe I should stop, or maybe yeah, it was. I think both times we ended up having he found Wi-Fi and I found Wi-Fi, so we could like message each other that way through Wi, using Wi-Fi instead of the cell phone, the SIM card, so we could find each other.
Yeah. Uh, uh, I had a splendid time with you and your father in Germany, and it's kind of a funny thing that because you both are quite high, long
Tall,
people, tall
tall.
people, yeah. So um, standing out the crowd, basically, and on the motorcycle event where we met, uh, it was easy to see where your dad was and easy to see where you were, and that's kind of funny because most of us European are much smaller.
Until you get up there into Denmark and Netherlands, those guys
Yeah,
there are
yeah,
tall too. I like going up there. I don't feel no one stares at me up there.
yeah. Um, so continuing from Moscow, you went to search yourself and
No, I just
and
kind of I had to.
spent a little
Yeah.
time in Europe and ended up in Ukraine.
Yep. In Kiev, I was there for 3 years, and it was good to. I do enjoy Ukraine. I'll be back to Ukraine for sure, um, for many reasons. One, because my bike is still there, 2 because I don't need a visa, and 3 because my girlfriend is still there currently. So I'll be back at some point. I do enjoy Ukraine a lot. I enjoyed Russia a lot too. Don't get me wrong, but I don't really want. I'm like the rest of Americans. I'm not going to deal with paying $250, $300 for a visa. I don't like it that much.
That's an honest statement to make. In Ukraine, what did you do there for work?
Well, I was working as an electrician at the U.S. Embassy for a while, and then after that, I kind of just did my own thing. We made a travel app for Ukraine called Ukraine Inside Out. Worked with a Danish company on that, and basically I drove around Ukraine for a whole summer with Natalia. She was with me, and we wrote about every site. I think we had over 250 sites that we stopped and checked out and took pictures of, and then we wrote about them in English, Russian, and Ukrainian, and created this travel app you can download. Or it's really nice now. The Danish company made a website for it that's so much easier to use, mostly because it's on a big screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we did that. Yeah.
Is it for the motorcycle community or anybody else?
It's for anyone.
Okay.
I mean, our goal was to there's not very much info on Ukraine in English at all. There's actually a whole lot of info on Russia in English, but there's not very much on Ukraine outside of like Chernobyl and Kiev and Odessa. So yeah, that was our goal. I mean, Ukraine has tons of stuff to offer. They have a desert. If you want to go to the desert, you can go to a sea, you can go to the mountains. They have basically everything you could want there.
There used to be this peninsula that they had.
Yeah, there used to be Crimea, but yeah.
So when that happened, what was the atmosphere in Ukraine in general?
I was actually in Russia when that happened.
Okay.
When Crimea disappeared, I was still in Moscow. I was just almost done there, but yeah, when I got to Ukraine, people are still upset about it, of course, and they want Crimea back. And yeah, I mean, I think Finland is still crying about some land that used to be theirs from 75. So you can see their odds of getting it back are not very good.
Well, then again, the way the new landlord has taken care of that part of the world, I don't think that we actually want it back anymore, to be honest, because it's been let's say this way, the situation is snafu at this point. So no reason to get that back. But I will tell this much, that it's gonna be a lot more harder to take the rest that is still with us, if they are planning on that. But anyway, that's enough for politics. You named your bike Yoshi. That's from the Super Mario Brothers, right?
Yeah, the video game when I was a child.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about the bike.
Oh, it's a 2008 Yamaha Warrior, and at this point, I think about the only thing that's left stock is the engine. I haven't touched the internals on the engine yet.
Yeah, because I have the same bike, a little older model that you have, but basically it's the same bike, and our bikes doesn't. If you put them side to side, they don't look anything alike.
No,
it's completely different, and it's kind of funny to step on the sideline and see people's reactions to the bike, especially those guys that have the same bike and well, let me put it this way, doesn't see your vision about it.
It's either people seem to love it or hate it. I mean, most normal people that don't ride bikes or don't have, especially like you say, have that bike, they really enjoy it and they like asking questions about it and everything, and it's really a good icebreaker to meet people. It draws people in. But I've gotten a lot of hate mail from people about how I've ruined the perfectly good bike and all, and I'm like, whatever. At least I drive mine.
Yeah,
How many kilometers does your bike have? Okay, yeah, mine has like 130,000. So at
and that's
least
a
I'm going
lot.
some.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, yeah, because I have about 90,000 or something like that, and my bike is 5 years older than yours. But anyway, yeah, I actually respect that you done your own thing and keep on it. That's a one aspects of motorcycling, doing your own thing.
Yeah, it is until you go against what everyone wants. It's the same in the States here with helmets, whether you have to wear them or, I mean, you don't have to wear them. And it's like the same kind of divisive thing, like, why would you wear a helmet? Why would you not wear a helmet? And people like everyone says like, oh, you should do what you want, and then you do what you want, and people get upset about it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And it's just trying to please everybody is a kind of a hard thing to do. So do your own thing and walk up straight, and you'll be fine. I would say that. Anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Well, uh, the bike has it's a trustworthy bike. Let me put it this way, but it has failed you from time to time. Do you have any like a story of this is it, I'm gonna quit, and this is it, there's no way I'm gonna get out of this, uh, uh, basically out of this alive, and have you broken down in tears on some road in middle of nowhere, or you had these kind of a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mishap. So what's the first thing that comes to your mind when thinking these kind of things?
Um, yeah, the few times the bike has had any issues, I mean, it's typically due to me, to be quite honest with you. It's not due to the bike. Yeah, I'm doing things with the
You
bike that it was
broke
never
it.
intended to do. It's an aluminum frame bike that weighs, I don't know, 300 kilos or something like that, and
Somewhere around
I'm
there, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I'm taking it off road and everywhere else. But yeah, a couple times I've had electronics go bad, which some sensor or something, which isn't that big of a deal. I have another one that I can I carry spare sensors, and I know what ones typically cause issues, and it takes a few minutes to swap it out. I had my starter go bad once, like completely like looked like someone threw a grenade inside of it. That was kind of a deal stopper there. Trying to push start that bike is doable
It's a
if
hard
you're on
thing.
a hill. You're on a hill.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to do. The bike weighs a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I had the rear shock break one time. That one there I was pretty upset about. It happened in the middle of nowhere, Ukraine, in this village of like 300 people, and basically my first thing is whenever something happens is just try to get off the road out of the way so you're not going to get hit by another car or you're
Mm.
not impeding any traffic. And so yeah, that the time there there was actually a big field right beside us, so me and Natalia, we just set up our tent, and it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and people saw our tent right there, and they're like, what's going on? That's not a place where people would normally camp. And like they stopped and talked to us, and it was pretty difficult because I know English and Russian, and she knows English, Russian, and Ukrainian, but her technical Russian, like, I don't know, it's hard to explain if you don't really think about it, but it's one
Mhm.
thing to speak English, but it's another thing to speak to a mechanic in English
Yeah,
and have
yeah,
to talk
yeah, yeah,
about the parts and pieces of a car.
yeah, yeah.
And so the guys that were there in that part of Ukraine where we were, they didn't actually know Russian, they knew Ukrainian. And Natasha's like, or Natalia, that's another thing, is their names there. I'll get into that later, but Natalia, she was really struggling because I'm like trying to explain what's wrong, but she doesn't know how to say it in Ukrainian or Russian actually because it's all technical speak. So I'm like drawing pictures and everything, and finally we get across what happened, and the guy's like, okay, yeah, I'll come back and bring help. And yeah, someone else came back. We found a machinist. He made us a new part from just a piece of raw steel. And the next morning we were on our way. And yeah, it was awesome. I mean, and it cost nothing. Everyone refused payment. Eat dinner with us and buy us, a bottle of vodka and let's drink tonight and we'll call it even. So,
So, I'm guessing that your favorite drink isn't Jack Daniels anymore. It's it's something else. It might be vodka or something like that. Or
yeah, I've been known to have a bottle of vodka or so.
yeah, you do. Okay. So when you're riding these adventures and trips, you don't use any hotels or motels or something like that.
Um, Usually no. It depends. If I'm riding alone, then typically no. If I'm riding like when I'm with Natasha or Natalia, whatever she wants to go by that day.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
the
we
names are crazy.
and we aren't talking about two different
It's
persons.
yeah, no, it's the same person.
Okay.
She has like 75 different names she can go by. It's ridiculous. But when she's with me, typically we'll do like a camping for 3, maybe 4 nights, and then we'll get an Airbnb or a hotel or something for a couple nights. And she enjoys camping. I enjoy camping, but she doesn't enjoy camping as much as I enjoy camping. So yeah, she wants the luxury of a shower and a toilet every once in a while.
I don't understand that at all. What's the point? Whatever.
Yeah, that's what I tell her too. I'm like, there's a river over there. Come on.
Well, I have to ask this at this point. Um, what kind of humor does Natasha has? What kind of level of humor does she has?
It could be rough sometimes
Okay,
because yeah, our
because
humor in the States and maybe yours too is a little bit more rough than hers.
yeah, I
And
was
she'll get upset about things, and I'm like, it was a joke. Well, it wasn't a funny joke. No,
so
it actually kind of was.
so so basically, if I'm saying that this might be some sort of schizophrenia in her for choosing those names, that's a bit of a stretch.
No, that's a Russian, Ukrainian. I think Poland is the same
Okay,
way.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I was
yeah.
trying to be funny now, but obviously I missed the point. So let's move on. Let's
No,
move
no,
on.
it's a joke between us. I'm
Yeah,
like, it's not fair. You
yeah.
can't have 75. That's kind of greedy, isn't it? Don't you? Like, in the States, you get 2. At the most, you get 2.
Yeah.
Typically, it's 1.
Maybe even 3 if you've been nice. So okay, okay. So we're talking with Monty, who's electrician from States that has been around the world for a very long time. Um, when thinking of your total age, which is about what 30 something.
32.
Okay, that was the show actually in the 80s, 30 something. You're too young to remember that, but anyway. So, where do you see yourself, let's say in 10 years? Do you think that you will be working in Europe or in States or in Asia or in South Pole or in North Pole or in Mars or whatever?
It's hard to say. I kind of give up on long-term planning. um, yeah, who knows? So many things can happen in 10 years.
Yeah.
So I plan to still be traveling at least somewhat. I mean, even if I kind of call Kansas home again, like I still want to take a month and go somewhere once a year and see something and do something out of the ordinary, or at least different. So, yeah, I don't know exactly. I mean, Could be back in Ukraine, could be here in Kansas. I doubt I'll go to Finland. I get
Oh,
enough cold weather, so.
and I was just thinking that my door is always open, my friend. Just come on run down
Oh,
here, but
I'll
no,
come
no,
visit,
no,
but I'm
no,
not gonna
no, no,
stay.
no, no. It isn't open actually, so you can stay your sorry ass away from here. So don't want to talk with you anymore. Yeah. So plans are opened. You hoping your girlfriend get a visa and comes to
Yeah,
States
we're
and
trying to get her a visa right now to come here and live in the States, and that's a crazy long process that I never realized how difficult it was. So,
yeah, settling down and having kids and stuff like that. Picket fence and
who
dog
knows?
and
Who knows? Maybe yes, maybe no.
well,
Nothing's decided in that spot yet.
yeah. Well, take my advice, my friend. Don't if you have a daughter, and don't call her Dorothy, and don't get a dog called Toto, because there's a bit of a tornadoes going through Kansas from time to
Yeah,
time, and
yeah.
and they tend to lost those two things after that. So that's my advice to you. Uh, uh, I think that you agree with me when I say that the motorcycle cycling community is one of those kind of strange things on this planet Earth, because um, you don't have to know anybody until you meet them, and basically before you get your helmet off, you have a beer on your hand, and you've been welcomed and stuff like that, which is kind of a unordinary for a Finn to experience anyway. What do you think?
Um, yeah, in general it is, and it's different in every country too. I mean, it's much different in Germany than it is in Finland. Well, I don't know about Finland, but I know the Eastern Europe, it's completely different. Like it is, yeah, like exactly like you said in Russia and Ukraine. I mean, if you're on a motorcycle, other motorcyclists take care of you, and even if they're not motorcyclists,
Mm,
like, oh, I know someone that's a motorcyclist and I see you're broken down, so I'm going to stop and help you because I know somebody else. um in America it's the same, typically whenever two bikes pass they wave at each other and everything. So it is a big awesome community that, just like any community, has its good and bad points, but
mm, 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 mm.
but in general, yeah, I that's one of the reasons why I continue to motorcycle. I think it's awesome, and I meet people that I wouldn't meet if I was in a car.
Mm. That's true. That's true. Um, could you tell a little bit more? Like I said, we're almost at the end, but about the app that you made, and you
Oh
had
yeah,
you had a blog, right?
yeah. Ukraine Inside Out is the name of the app.
Okay.
If anyone ever has any kind of questions about Ukraine, hopefully that thing will answer it for you. And if it doesn't, you can definitely, they have a Facebook page if anyone wants to see them that way. They have a website, ukraineinsideout.com. I'm not as involved with it as I was, just because I'm not in Ukraine at the moment, but
Mm,
I'm still, all the time I get questions about Ukraine and what there is to see and do, and yeah, I mean, it's a spectacular country if you want to go visit. And the best part is right now it's incredibly cheap in Ukraine for foreigners. I don't know what, I think the euro to you, like, I mean, let me put it this way, like if I go out with Natalia in Kiev and we go to dinner and have a few beers, if we spend 20 euros, that was a lot
okay.
for two people.
That's a that's a
So
that's a I would say that doesn't get you anything around Finland. So
yeah,
that's a pretty decent amount to
yeah,
use.
like hotels and stuff like that. In Kiev, depending on where you want to be, you'll pay more, but like you can easily find things on Airbnb or whatever for between 15 and 20 euros a night, no problem.
Okay.
If you want something nicer, you can move up to 30 euros a night and you can get pretty nice apartment.
Yeah, but basically, those who are thinking on going to Ukraine, stop thinking about the Soviet Union kind of
Yeah, yeah.
landscape, or or scenery with
I mean, you
a
can
lot
see
of
anything you want.
Okay.
You can go there, you can ride tanks if you want. You can go there, you can see castles, you can see art, you can do theater. I mean, you can do, like I said, you can go to the sea and hang out on the sea. You can go hiking in the mountains. You can do really anything. It's
And even on the eastern border, you can see war
yeah, if you want to go do
happening
that too, yeah.
happening right now.
Yeah, no, this last summer, but I mean, that's all contained, and that's something that a lot of people don't understand. If you're not down in the very far southeast, then you're not going to be affected by it. I
Yeah,
mean, if you
yeah,
go down there,
obviously.
then yeah, of course, you're going to find what you want to see.
Mm.
But in Kiev, you have no idea that it's going on. There's no violence going on in Kiev, in Odessa, in any of the small villages. So yeah, I definitely recommend people to go there and check it out.
Yeah.
I have not met anyone who went there and left and was like disappointed.
Okay. Um, it's been nice talking to you for
Yeah.
after a very long time, and you have to excuse me for my not so complete English, but then again, I would dare you to speak any Finnish.
Oh, I tried once. I remember I was driving by the fire department and I saw the name for the fire department that was about 3/4 of a kilometer long, and I'm like, okay, well, I think they had to make the building that big just so they could fit the name on the building.
And there was this one thing about the gypsies, but let's not go
Oh
there,
yeah,
there anymore. Anyway, like I said, it's been nice talking to you, Monty. Absolutely brilliant that you took the time to participate in this little show, and I really hope that we can be able to see each other again and have a beer and laugh about it. And I don't know, it's been one of those nice things about my life that I've met you and so many other people in motorcycling community, and they have given me so much, you know, through just saying hello, and although our languages aren't same or anything like that, but either way, the connection is right there at the first second, and from there on.
yeah. No, it's always good to talk to you and all the other guys that we've met through motorcycling and the mutual friends we have. It's
Yeah.
always fun to talk to these guys and catch up and see where they are in life these days.
Yeah, definitely. For you, obviously, my door is halfway open. Anyway, I'm just gonna, peek out and see who is on the front door, and send you on your way after that. But anyway, uh, it's been fun, and it's nice to have you a part of my life, and this is totally not in a gay kind of way.
No, it's mutual. And if you're ever in Kansas or you want to go to Ukraine, you just let me know, and I'll get you taken care of.
I will. Thank you again. We'll talk to you again, hopefully soon, and take care of your family and friends, and keep those pictures from the around the world coming. And I don't know. Let's see when we see, and take it from there.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Same to you, man.
Okay. Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.